A quarterly report shows the company losing $1.1 million every single day. 4 months later, it's in bankruptcy court. 2 years after that, it's there again. This is the story of RadioShack, a company that survived 94 years, 6 CEOs in one especially chaotic decade, and 2 separate trips through Chapter 11 before ending up as a brand more people remember than actually shop at. RadioShack. 94 years, 2 bankruptcies. RadioShack's story starts in 1921 when brothers Theodore and Milton Deutschman opened a small shop in Boston, selling equipment for ship radios and amateur radio hobbyists. Over the following decades, it grew into something much bigger. The place ordinary Americans went for anything electronic: resistors, antennas, obscure adapters, batteries no other store carried. By the 1990s, RadioShack had become genuinely massive, more than 7,000 stores nationwide, pulling in roughly $3 billion a year. The company loved to point out that 90% of Americans lived within 5 minutes of a RadioShack, a density almost no specialty retailer has matched before or since. That density, it turned out, was also a problem. RadioShack had expanded so aggressively that it was competing with itself. Reports from the time described 25 stores within 25 miles of Sacramento and 7 stores within 5 miles of a single town in New Jersey. Every one of those stores carried rent and staffing costs, cannibalizing sales from the location down the street instead of drawing in new customers. At the same time, the retail world was changing underneath RadioShack's feet, and the company was slow to notice. It didn't launch e-commerce until the year 2000, 6 years after Amazon had already started building the online retail playbook. For a company built on convenience, seeding convenient to a website that could ship anywhere was an existential problem they didn't treat as urgent. Instead of doubling down on the electronics expertise that had made it distinctive, RadioShack made a strategic bet. It would remake itself as a wireless phone retailer, leaning heavily on carrier commissions from cell phone sales. The problem was that space was already crowded. Carrier-owned stores, big-box electronics chains, and eventually online retailers were all fighting for the same customer, and RadioShack had no particular edge in any of it. Leadership instability made a coherent turnaround even harder. Between 2006 and 2016, RadioShack cycled through 6 different CEOs, each arriving with a new slogan and a new strategic direction, none sticking around long enough to see one through. In 2015, RadioShack partnered with Sprint, co-branding stores in hopes that Sprint commissions could keep the business afloat. It didn't deliver the results either company needed. By late 2014, the financial picture was dire. A quarterly report that October showed the company burning through $1.1 million a day. On February 3, 2015, RadioShack defaulted on a loan from its lender, Salus. 2 days later, it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, carrying more than $1 billion in debt. A hedge fund called Standard General, working with Sprint, acquired RadioShack's assets and tried to keep a slimmed-down chain alive through the Sprint co-branding partnership. General Wireless, part of that same Standard General operation, picked up the RadioShack trademark and remaining stores for around $26 million, a striking number for a brand that had generated billions in annual revenue less than a decade earlier. The Sprint partnership didn't produce the commission revenue either side had hoped for, and the smaller restructured RadioShack kept bleeding. In March 2017, just over 2 years after emerging from its first bankruptcy, General Wireless filed for Chapter 11 again, this time closing around 200 stores immediately and putting the remaining 1,300 up for evaluation. By the end of 2017, RadioShack as a corporate retail chain had effectively ceased to exist. A small number of independently owned franchise locations kept the name alive in scattered towns, but the national chain was gone. In the years since, the brand itself has changed hands again, relaunching as a mostly online retailer, and in 2023 was acquired by the El Salvador-based Unicomer Group in an attempt to bring it back as both an e-commerce and physical presence. It's a brand now, more than the company it once was. Lesson 1. 7,000 stores looked like dominance right up until they became a cost structure the business couldn't support. When RadioShack needed to move fast, it was instead managing an enormous, overlapping physical footprint that made every strategic shift slower and more expensive. Lesson 2. RadioShack's real competitive advantage was electronics expertise nobody else offered at that scale. Pivoting hard into wireless phone sales meant competing head-on in a category where it had no differentiation, against carriers, big-box retailers, and eventually the entire online market, all better positioned to win that specific fight. Lesson 3. 6 CEOs in a decade isn't just an interesting statistic. It's a company that never gave any single strategy long enough to work or fail before starting over. Turnarounds take years of consistent execution. RadioShack rarely gave one attempt more than a couple of years before changing direction again. And Lesson 4, RadioShack's first bankruptcy addressed the balance sheet, but not the strategic confusion underneath it. 2 years later, the same core issues, an unclear identity, weak differentiation, and a partnership that didn't deliver, brought the company back to bankruptcy court. Restructuring the debt without resolving why the business was losing money bought time, not a solution. RadioShack's collapse is a slower story, nearly 2 decades of a company drifting away from what made it distinctive. Next episode, we're covering another company that mistook its physical footprint for a moat. Subscribe so you don't miss it.